Hello super teachers and welcome to the KIST channel. I'm Dr. Ogaro and today I'm going to be talking with you about a 5-part classroom lesson structure. It's reusable and it was also connected to providing high quality, culturally affirming instructional experiences for Black and Brown students who have been historically underserved. Now today's video is inspired by Kathleen Jasper, who has a classroom instruction formula. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So this 5-part classroom lesson structure that is reusable starts with a do now. Your do now is about a 5-minute activity that asks students to come right into the classroom and get right to work. Maybe they come in and they grab a sheet of paper on the way in before they go to their desk, or maybe you have something projected onto the whiteboard, but students know to come in and get right to work on whatever it is that you have assigned for them. Now, while they are seated and working, you're circulating around, maybe taking attendance, maybe checking in with the student who has a frowny face on, or maybe doing some other administrative task. But students are independent during this time. Now, after the 5 minutes, you might choose to review the do now or a part of the do now, because that do now is connected to whatever is going to be happening in the day's lesson or whatever has happened in a previous lesson. So it might be spiral review, or it might be what students need to be thinking about as they're entering into the day's lesson. After the do now is the mini lesson. Now the mini lesson should be about 7 to 10 minutes long, because brain science says that people, not just young people, start checking out after about 7 minutes of lecture. So yes, even if your mini lesson is dynamic and you're doing some call and response, or you're having students engage in what you're talking about, you still want to limit that time to 7 to 10 minutes, because you want to maximize the amount of time that students have for the next part of this 5-part classroom lesson structure. But let's keep talking about the mini lesson. The mini lesson is going to provide students with what they need for the day's exploration or independent work time. So it might be something skill-based, it might be something conceptual, whatever it is, you're going to give your students the tools they need so that they can work independently on this assignment while you do other things. So let's get into this next part. The third part of the reusable classroom lesson structure is the independent work time or exploration work time. Now this amount of time should be about 20 minutes. If you know that this is going to be longer than 30 minutes, let's say you teach a block of time, or in a block of time, like maybe 80 minutes versus a 60-minute or 40-minute period, then what you want to do is at the 15-minute mark, you want to pull your whole class back together and review what has come up for you as you've been circulating around. So let's go over that again. So during this independent exploration time of about 20 minutes, students are either working independently with no partner, or you might have them partnered, or you might have them in a trio or a quad. I don't typically go over 4 students in a group. I actually prefer 3 students in a group because there's more accountability when there are just 3 students. At 4 students, somebody's bound to check out. So students are working independent of you. You're circulating around, making sure that students are on task, helping to clarify instructions. Maybe you've pulled a small group of students aside who need your additional one-on-one support, or something else is going on that you're able to have freed up time to attend to. So after and during this 20-minute lesson structure, you do want to be collecting data. What are students struggling with? What might they need support with? Or are they zooming through this lesson and you might need to start thinking about an extension? Hold on one second. Let me get my assistant. Say hello, assistant. All right, so it's 20 minutes, students are working. After that amount of time, you are going to then pull the whole class together, share your data that you have collected as you've been circulating around or as you've been working with a small group of students, and then also ensure that students are able to synthesize what it is that they've learned and understood during this independent exploration time. You might even want to answer some questions that have come up. for students, because during this wrap up or debrief, you want to make sure that students are leaving with what you intended for them to leave with during this lesson. You don't want anyone walking out with any major confusions about what it is they were supposed to learn. Now, even though we're wrapping up and we're debriefing, this is not the end of class. The fifth part of this reusable classroom lesson structure is the exit ticket, because you want to collect data. Did students meet your objective? So what I typically like to do is I like to use questions from the standardized tests that my students are going to have to take. The previous year's standardized test questions are typically released. So I like to limit myself to 3 questions. So either 1 open response question or 2 questions, 1 multiple choice and 1 short answer. Now, the reason why I like to use standardized test questions is because they are already aligned with the standards that students are responsible for knowing, right? And it also gives them that test practice. The exit ticket should only take students 5 minutes. And what I like to do is I literally have students hand me their exit ticket on their way out, because that's their ticket to leave. All right. So I'm going to pause here. And if you're still here, you're still listening, this speaks to you, I want to invite you to like, share, and subscribe. You're going to be sharing this video with one of your hardworking teacher colleagues who you know serves Black and brown students who have been historically undereducated, or a hardworking teacher friend who you know is on the brink of burnout, or a hardworking teacher friend who is desperate for asset-based coaching, because that's what we do here on the KIST channel, where we are keeping it simple, super teachers. All right, did you share? Awesome. Now, please, I also want to make sure that we're clear. So I also want to invite you to leave comments in the comment section. What are your reusable lesson structures? Because I'm getting ready to talk about how a classroom lesson structure helps students who have been historically underserved and undereducated receive the high quality, culturally affirming instructional experiences that they deserve. But I want you to make sure that you leave your favorite classroom lesson structures in the comments section. Also share if you have any questions or comments about what it is I've shared today. So how is a reusable classroom structure connected to high quality, culturally affirming educational experiences for your Black and Hispanic students? So one way a reusable 5-part classroom lesson structure is connected to high quality, culturally affirming educational experiences for Black and Hispanic students is that it's an expected norm, right? So students know that when they come in, these are the things that are going to happen during your lesson. There are no surprises. For students who have been historically underserved and undereducated, typically they've had a lot of teacher turnover experiences, right? This group of students is typically served by young teachers who are fresh out of college, and some don't figure out until about November, maybe March, that teaching really isn't for them, and they end up leaving after the school year has already started. So our Black and Hispanic students, especially in public school settings or public school districts that are underfunded, they have experienced a lot of teacher turnover. So your reusable classroom lesson structure is going to create an expectation. It's going to create that consistency that they will need and do benefit from after having maybe a few years before they got to you of teachers who have left the classroom before the year was over. Another way that this reusable classroom lesson structure benefits students who have been historically underserved and educated is because this format allows students to know what it is they're going to be learning, how they're going to be learning it, and why it's important. Because during that mini lesson, you're going to go over the objective of the day and you're going to let them know why it is that they're learning it. Your mini lesson is going to include the skill or the conceptual knowledge that they need to apply during the exploration. The exploration itself is also culturally affirming because students are going to get to either work independently, where they can use their own thinking skills, or they're going to be working with a partner or a small group. And cooperative learning is one of those learning modalities that students of color really benefit from. Students of color typically like to talk things out. Working independently is definitely something that all students like to do, but some students benefit from talking things out before they apply or answer questions independently. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this is definitely something that you will find helpful and useful for sharing with your hardworking teacher colleagues. At this time, I'd like to remind you to turn on that notification button, because this is just one video in a series of videos on how our instructional practices can be helpful in ensuring that our Black and Hispanic students who are historically underserved get the high quality, culturally affirming classroom learning experiences that they deserve. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, share this video with a hardworking teacher colleague of yours, and subscribe so that you are notified when the next video comes out. Talk to you soon, and keep it simple, super teachers.